Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of Monday Night Raw for January 6th, 2025, the first episode of Raw on Netflix, the start of a new era for WWE. What changed? What remained the same? Let's break it down. We have a lot to discuss. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. Live chat, send in your comments, post your thoughts. I will post some of your reactions right on the screen as we go through this recap. Let's get to it. First of all, I wanted to say the Netflix stream, no issues whatsoever. Great quality from start to finish. I did not think there was going to be any Mike Tyson, Jake Paul issues, and there weren't. The stream worked 100% start to finish. It was very smooth. Video quality was great. Audio, no problems. The arena, the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, brand new arena. It looked fantastic on television. They have the LED lights for all the seats, the big screens, WWE production. It looked like $1 million. They had a curtain over the ring, and they used this curtain to display a video, which was the cold open that had been published on WWE's social media accounts. It was a fantastic video package, recapping the history of WWE, showcasing some of the greatest moments in the history of Monday Night Raw. Very well done. As always, WWE, top of the line when it comes to video production. Now, we do have a super chat here. Feel free to send in your super chats with your thoughts. Attitude Adam sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. Says, this show was very underwhelming and disappointing. Chat room, do you agree with Adam? I have my thoughts on the show. I'll give my final thoughts at the end. And there was also a comment about longtime No DQ contributor Jeff Meacham. Good old JM was in attendance for the show. I think I will have Jeff on in just a little bit. He's at the show. He's getting out of there. Hopefully by the end of the stream, I will get Jeff on live and we'll get his thoughts being there in person. So stay tuned for that. We'll see if we can get Jeff on. Now, Triple H was in the ring. The curtain dropped after the video finished. Triple H was in the ring. He hyped up the show. He called it the Netflix era. We had the pyro going off, and we were off to the races. The Rock came down to the ring. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was in attendance, as expected. We all figured he would be here on this Netflix premiere. Rock came down to the ring with his championship that Muhammad Ali's widow gave to him. He handed the title over, though, to his daughters at ringside. Nice thing to do from the final boss. Rock got into the ring. Rock cut this promo. He talked about being the high chief. He brought up how this was the largest arena gate in the history of WWE. He did the finally, WWE has come back to Netflix, but he said that was bullshit. He said bullshit, it was not censored. They did censor the F word, though. So there you go. There is a limit to what Netflix will tolerate. Rock said that was BS. He had to do his classic line, and that is, finally, The Rock has come back to Netflix. He gave a shout out to the Netflix people. Very nice stuff. that the final boss was saying here. And then he acknowledged Cody Rhodes. He gave props to Cody Rhodes, his rival from last year. He said Cody has been doing an amazing job running WWE, being on top. Cody was at ringside. They showed Cody at ringside. Cody was flattered that The Rock was complimenting him. And of course, The Rock had to throw in the "Tell Mama Rhodes The Rock said hi." Then The Rock acknowledged his cousin, Roman Reigns. He said that he'll be watching the Tribal Chief match very closely, the Tribal Combat match. He then said his catchphrase, his music played, he went over and he hugged Cody Rhodes. Babyface turn for The Rock. What is going on here? The Rock makes peace with Cody Rhodes instead of coming back and saying, I'm going to be WWE champion. I had that championship around my shoulder. None of that. He came out there. He endorsed Cody Rhodes. Was Dave Meltzer right that The Rock is not doing WrestleMania, and this was done to wrap up The Rock's story? I thought the story was just getting started. That's what he said last year. The story between him and Cody was just getting started. Well, no, it's over. At least so we're led to believe. The Rock and Cody Rhodes are once again buddies. We then had our Tribal Combat match. We went right into Tribal Combat, which made me think, well, maybe something's going to happen here with The Rock and Roman Reigns. You had Alicia Taylor as the ring announcer. Lillian Garcia is officially on SmackDown now. Before we get to the match, though, Seth Rollins, haven't seen Seth Rollins here in a while, sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I already miss commercials, Aaron, with the I'm not sure what the emoji is. It's hard to see with the glasses. I know outside of the United States, viewers were not getting commercials. They were instead getting WWE videos. In the United States, you were still getting commercials. Not as many as on USA Network. They were more limited on Netflix. I didn't mind the commercials, and I felt WWE overall did a pretty good job in timing the commercial breaks to not really interrupt at key moments. Now, speaking of advertisements, the ring mat. They did, in fact, have the ring mat that leaked on Friday, the photo that came out on Friday. Black ring mat, I thought looked great. You got the various companies. You got Fortnite right in the center. Netflix, of course. Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. We'll get to that in a few minutes. And Rhea season. Royal Rumble 2026 is going to be in Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about that for sure on this channel in the coming days. I'm not going to talk about it right now since it's not related to Raw, other than they made the announcement. We'll talk about that soon. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com, by the way, for all the latest news and rumors. Now, the This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, this guy. I appreciate it. This guy says, my first live Raw in 8 years. Too many faces won tonight. Almost the opposite of AEW, where the heels seem to win all the time. Listen, this show was designed mostly for new viewers. They wanted to give new viewers a taste of what WWE is all about. That's what this show was. So I'm not surprised that they had as clean as possible finishes and feel-good moments on this show. But we'll talk more about that. Shout out this guy. Thank you for the super chat. Frogger303 2.0. I like the username. a big fan of Frogger back in the day, says, with WWE being on Netflix now, is Peacock still going to be doing WWE premium live events? Yes. For the time being, WWE still has the deal with Peacock, I think at least for another year, maybe 2 years. They have it for quite a bit of time. And could Netflix end up having WWE's entire library? Possibly. I would not rule it out, but at the same time, WWE has a positive relationship with NBC Universal, and it would not shock me if WWE continues that relationship. It'll just come down to money. Whoever's willing to pay the most once the Peacock deal runs out. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, I was not getting commercials. I was getting exclusive interviews and continued matches. I love it. No more commercials. Well, there you go. Some people are satisfied with the video packages and interviews and whatnot. The commercials don't really bother me that much. I'm used to it at this point. If I wasn't covering the shows for my job, I would probably just watch the YouTube clips and I wouldn't even see the commercials anyways. But for what it is, the commercials didn't bother me that much. And again, if you're outside the United States, you didn't have to deal with them. So that's certainly a positive for international fans. Now, let's get to this tribal combat match. Hopefully I don't miss any key moments while talking about Raw. I did talk about the ring mat. The crowd chanted F you Solo, which was, again, not censored by Netflix. That was a positive. They had this extended lockup, and then Solo Sikoa gained the upper hand on the outside of the ring. He gave Roman Reigns the spinning solo on the brand new announce table. They have a new announce table, and then Solo hit Reigns with a monitor. He used the steel steps, and then after the commercial break, Solo was doing some trash talking, and he said he loved Roman Reigns, but he was going to take his ass out for good. He wrapped the chair around Roman Reigns' neck and went for the hip attack, but Reigns avoided it. And then Reigns built up some momentum. We had a kendo stick brought in. A table was set up in the ring. Roman Reigns ended up power bombing Solo through the table. And Roman Reigns was perhaps on the verge of winning this match. But then Tama Tonga from the New Bloodline pulled out the referee. Jacob Fatu then attacked Roman Reigns, hit him with the moonsault. Solo took down Roman Reigns with a Samoan spike, but Roman Reigns managed to kick out. And then Solo took out the referee with the Samoan spike for not counting the three. Then we had Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, the OG bloodline. They ran down to make the save to even the odds. And at that point, Roman Reigns was able to hit the spear on Solo Sikoa. Another referee ran down, but Solo managed to kick out. Reigns went for another spear, but then Kevin Owens appeared. Kevin Owens showed up. He gave Roman Reigns the stunner, but then Cody Rhodes ran back down, went after Kevin Owens, so the odds were once again evened. Reigns was able to avoid the Samoan spike, hit not one, but two spears, and finally got the 1-2-3 victory over a very game Solo Sikoa, making Roman Reigns the true tribal chief in WWE. Now, after the match was over, Paul Heyman got in the ring with the Ula Fala to present it to Roman Reigns, but then The Rock returned. The Rock came into the ring. He had this tense moment with Roman Reigns, but then took the Ula Fala from Paul Heyman and then put it around the neck of Roman Reigns, stuck out his hand. The two of them joined up hands, and then they hugged. The Rock has endorsed Roman Reigns. WWE has essentially wrapped up this storyline as well. So what does this all mean? Unless it's a swerve, this came off to me like The Rock is not doing WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer was right. Now, of course, everybody says The Rock is The Rock. He can do what he wants. If he changes his mind, he can always insert himself into a storyline. But the way this played out makes me think he's out. He's not doing WrestleMania. He doesn't want people thinking he's doing WrestleMania. So they decided to wrap up this Rock Cody storyline. And for now, The Rock Roman Reigns. I'm disappointed. Not going to lie here. I was really hoping The Rock was going to double cross Roman Reigns here and set up WrestleMania. It could always be a swerve. I'd love it if it was a swerve, but I feel like it's done. The Rock is out, and they're moving forward with different plans. I think they got some other ideas for WrestleMania, and I definitely have my theories on where things are going for WrestleMania at this point. And yes, The Rock did call himself the new High Chief, so they could always go back to it. I think that they did just enough of a tease that if The Rock decides to do WrestleMania, he can insert himself in. But keep in mind, The Rock, he needs a lot of time to prepare for WrestleMania. You know, he can't just snap his fingers and do a WrestleMania match. He's in his 50s now. He's got to have the time to prepare. And the way everything played out on this show, I really do think he's out. But hey, if I'm swerved and The Rock does in fact do WrestleMania, it would be among the best swerves of all time. Now, The Rock, backstage, he was celebrating with everybody, and then he did reveal that he will be on NXT Tuesday night. Now, keep in mind, we're also doing the No DQ review right here on the No DQ channel, but once that's done, you can check out NXT and watch The Rock. I guess The Rock will do something cool on NXT. I like that. That's a nice gesture for him to show up on NXT. So if you want a little bit more of The Rock, you'll get to see him on NXT. Match was good. It was your standard Roman Reigns match with the overbooking, lots of interference, all that stuff. But it was entertaining. It was entertaining for what it was. It went about as I expected it to go. Like, I figured we'd have the interference, we'd have the shenanigans. So, you know, it was along the lines of what I thought was going to happen. Now, Building Nexus sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, was this to make people forget about Rock versus Roman Reigns / Cody Rhodes, and do you think it will work? I do not think that Rock is going to be at WrestleMania. If it is, in fact, a swerve, then it is, I will call it one of the greatest swerves of all time. But yeah, if it's done by design and they want people to forget about it, then it was absolutely brilliant. But I just have this feeling Rock is not going to be wrestling at WrestleMania. Maybe he'll show up for a cameo, but I don't think we're getting the match at this point. Shout out to the Mr. Callium podcast. How's it going? Thank you for the super chat. Says, Australia has Raw, SmackDown, and all PLEs on Netflix. Well, there you go. Keep in mind the Peacock deal is for the United States. So will WWE content, PLEs, all that stuff be on Netflix in the United States? Not until the Peacock deal is over, and that's not for a while. But yeah, for international viewers, you know, you're probably going to be able to watch everything on Netflix as time moves forward here. And depending on how successful the deal is, like I could see one day all WWE content being on Netflix. We'll have to see what happens. All right, moving on here. Wait, we got one more here from Maddie. Maddie sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Maddie. Says, the segment and show fell flat for me, Aaron. Well, there you go. You're not the first person who felt disappointed with the show. And I will say I was disappointed about how the segments with The Rock played out. I really wanted Rock versus Cody and Rock versus Roman Reigns, but The Rock in the end, he's got to focus on his career outside of wrestling. Maybe one day we'll see it. Apparently, Roman Reigns was asked about it during WWE's post show, and he said, quote, "We'll see." Take that for what you will. But let's move on here. We got a lot of other segments to discuss. A lot of celebrities were in attendance. WWE showed all these different celebrities. Macaulay Culkin, Kevin McAllister got the biggest pop, I think, of any of the celebrities. He got one of the biggest pops of the night. So there you go. Home Alone and Home Alone 2, two of the all-time classic Christmas movies. Still beloved to this day. Shout out to Macaulay Culkin. He was there at WrestleMania 7 in the crowd. Lifelong fan. Always been a fan of his work. And a lot of wrestlers were in attendance around ringside. I guess this was a way to get them on television, let them be in the crowd. Rey Mysterio was in the crowd. They had Lyra Valkyria, LA Knight, all sorts of people were there. There was a Logan Paul video. Logan Paul, apparently, this is no longer a side hustle for him. He is 100% a WWE superstar. He said it's the beginning of the Logan Paul era. Now, I could have sworn Logan Paul did this routine already. When he won the U.S. title, he said, I'm going to be more of a full-time wrestler now. But apparently that wasn't the case. But now he's more of a full-time wrestler. So we'll see what happens with Logan Paul. We then had the return, the start of his farewell tour. John Cena made his return to WWE. Massive ovation for Cena. Thank you, Cena chants. He talked about Netflix, of course, how the audience has gotten a whole lot bigger. And thank you to everybody watching this, by the way. If you're enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up on the No DQ YouTube channel. Easy access, nodq.com/YouTube. Giving the video a thumbs up helps out the channel. Leave a comment on the channel, on the YouTube stream. Let me know your favorite and least favorite moment from the Raw Netflix premiere. Now, John Cena talked about his history in SoCal in Los Angeles, wrestling for UPW, being the prototype, etc. Then he asked about potential opponents, what the crowd thought. He listed some names, including Gunther and Logan Paul. And then he said, what about becoming 17-time world champion? The crowd chanted, you deserve it. But then Cena said, honestly, he doesn't see it happening. He said it's been, I think, 2,046 days since he won a match in WWE. He doesn't think a 17-time world championship run is going to happen. But then he remembered, you're supposed to say never. And he said that, yes, there's always a chance, but it will take a miracle. He said he's got a better chance of winning an Oscar. And if you've seen his work, you know that's not going to happen. He poked fun at himself. He then said, winning the WWE title, it's basically like the lottery ticket. Nothing's impossible, but there are opportunities like Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, or the Royal Rumble. So yes, John Cena is in fact entering the Royal Rumble, and he says he's not just going to enter the Rumble, he is going to win the Royal Rumble. And I think there's a real good shot John Cena does in fact win the Royal Rumble. I have my opinions for WrestleMania, and I'll talk about that here in just a bit. Very good promo here from John Cena. Crowd was loving him. Shout out to Jason XP, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Jason. Says, no Gunther at all was odd, only a video package. Yes, there was just a video package for Gunther. It was a black and white video. He said it's a new era for everyone but him. He's going to continue his dominance. I like how it was a black and white video, but the championship was in color. I thought that was a nice touch. Gunther did get something on this show, and there's only so much you can do in a 3-hour Raw. You want to save some of it. At least they got him on the show in some capacity. So I didn't mind that they just did the video package with him. I thought that was fine. Now, there was a special appearance by Hulk Hogan, WWE Hall of Famer, one of my childhood heroes growing up. I was a big fan of Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea, well, that's a different story, but Hulk Hogan was a big part of my childhood. He came out there with Jimmy Hart. They had the American flag. Hulk Hogan, of course, born and raised in the USA, American made, but he got booed. Probably not the best place for Hulk Hogan to be, Los Angeles. I grew up on Los Angeles. Definitely not Donald Trump territory. And Hogan showed up in Los Angeles, got off the plane wearing the MAGA Powers t-shirt, and that was all over social media. So nobody should really be surprised. You have Hogan endorsing Donald Trump, and then he shows up in Los Angeles. He got booed out of the building. He tried to get through it. He was doing his shtick, putting over Netflix, putting over his Real American Beer, which WWE is in a partnership now with. Real American Beer and Hulk Hogan. Real American Beer was on the ring mat. Crowd hated Hogan, though. So it was kind of funny. Part of me was hoping Undertaker, well, not Undertaker. We'll get to Undertaker in just a little bit. Part of me was hoping that Hogan would have done an impromptu heel turn. I know they're not going to do that stuff, but man, if Hogan just healed it up on the crowd, like I would have loved that if he did that, but no, he stuck to his routine, and yeah, he got booed very heavily in Los Angeles. I mean, nobody should be surprised by this. We'll get to the Undertaker here in just a moment. Nirvana Fan 09 sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says the biggest pop of the night was Hulk Hogan getting booed. Well, for a lot of people, they probably popped the most at home when Hogan came out there and got booed out of the building. So there you go. Even Jeff Meacham had to acknowledge the Hulk Hogan boos. And Jeff, like myself, grew up a Hulkamaniac. All right, let's get back on track here. We had Liv Morgan defending her women's world title against Rhea Ripley. Very good match between these two. You had Dominic Mysterio and Raquel on the outside, and sure enough, they got involved. At one point, Dominic grabbed Rhea's leg. Match went back and forth. Liv did get in some offense. She countered the Riptide with the backstabber. Then Rhea got the upper hand, hit the Riptide, but Liv Morgan managed to kick out. And Rhea was shocked. She wasn't quite sure what to do. Then Dominic and Liv interfered again. Liv Morgan hit the Oblivion, but Rhea Ripley kicked out. And then Liv did the Three Amigos, went to the top, came off the top with the frog splash. Rhea kicked out again, and then Rhea blocked another Oblivion attempt. She hit not one, but two more Riptides and got the 1-2-3 victory to become the new women's champion. After the match was over, Dominic Mysterio got in the ring, wanted a hug from Rhea Ripley, but instead she gave him a low blow and took him down with the Riptide. So we got our payoff. Dominic finally got the Riptide from Rhea Ripley, and presumably this feud has been wrapped up. Great segment here. I'm not surprised at all that Rhea Ripley regained the championship. Very good match here. And the post-match, this was the payoff we were all waiting for. Dominic finally getting laid out by Rhea Ripley. I mean, this was a great ending to the storyline. And I do think it's completely over. No Becky Lynch, though. I was thinking, is Becky Lynch's music going to hit? She did not come back. So again, going back to earlier with the Gunther comment, WWE didn't want to do too many things in one show. Triple H outright said this in an interview, that they want to save some things for future weeks. They didn't bring back Becky on this show. Gunther just had that little video promo. So they're saving things for next week's Raw and future weeks of Raw, which is fine. We did get an appearance from The Undertaker as the American Badass, coming out there on the bike. And here's the thing. Undertaker got cheered. Hogan did not get cheered. The fans prefer Undertaker over Hogan, despite the fact that they both supported Trump. Now, of course, there was the whole Hulk Hogan using that racist remark. There's that, and a lot of people still hold that against him. So there's that. Undertaker, though, fans, he's more recent, so maybe that helps. A lot of people, I mean, there's several things about Hulk Hogan that people don't like. Let's be real here. The politics, not just in real life, but in wrestling. People think Hogan was a bad wrestler, and they think he was overrated. And people think of Undertaker in a higher regard as a better worker, better performer, and all that stuff. So that I think is the reason why people still cheer The Undertaker. They'll look over the Donald Trump stuff, at least in Los Angeles, because they still have fond memories of him, and maybe some of them still think he's somewhat decent of a person. But anyways, Undertaker cameo, he got cheered, came out there on the bike and celebrated with celebrated with Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley got a little bit of a moment here. Part of me was hoping that maybe Braun Breaker would have beat up The Undertaker or something to get payback for what happened on NXT a couple months ago, or not a couple months ago, like a year ago, whenever it was. But no, Braun Breaker was in the crowd, though, among several others. Backstage, American Made, not Hulk Hogan, Chad Gable's group confronted Adam Pearce. Chad Gable vowed to win a singles title in 2025, and he's tired of getting beat by luchadors, so he wanted Adam Pearce to find the best luchador possible to face him next week on Raw. Adam Pearce thought for a second and said he thinks he has the perfect opponent. Now, earlier in the show, there was another one of those little teasers for a certain luchador, and I mean, there's no mystery now. It's Penta. They outright had his name on the screen this week. So Penta is on his way, and pretty obvious he's going to be the guy facing Chad Gable on next week's show. At first, I thought, you know what? This Raw would have been a great place to debut him, being in Los Angeles. But next week's show is in San Jose, California. He'll get a good reaction there, I think. I'm fine with that. Save it for next week. Travis Scott, rapper Travis Scott, showed up in the crowd. He was there for Jey Uso's entrance, and he was smoking a blunt, smoking a joint, whatever you want to call it. He was smoking. Netflix era. Jey Uso should have taken a hit. That would have gotten a big pop, but he didn't. He stayed professional. He got in the ring. Crowd was going crazy. Pat McAfee. I forgot to mention Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee was great. He was yeeting with Michael Cole. I love Pat McAfee with Michael Cole. I think they're a great commentary team. Jey Uso had his match with Drew McIntyre. I thought this match was kind of boring. To me, this was definitely the low point of the show. Match was all right, but it felt kind of lackluster for a show of this magnitude. It felt like a very mid Raw match. I don't know what the deal was, but I just didn't think it was all that great. It was your standard Raw match, back and forth. McIntyre being the heel, got the upper hand for a while. I mean, I didn't hate the match, but I just didn't think it lived up to being on this card. McIntyre got in a lot of offense. They were doing the dueling chants. Jey Uso hit a spear. McIntyre was able to kick out, and then McIntyre hit the Claymore. Jey kicked out of that. He went for another one, but Jey collapsed. So McIntyre gloated a little bit, getting a little too cocky. He then went for another Claymore, but this time Jey was able to avoid it, and then Jey rolled up McIntyre and got the 1-2-3 victory. This was very similar to the 1995 Survivor Series. I like the finish. Jey gets a win. McIntyre, he's going to be frustrated. I was actually maybe surprised by this. I figured McIntyre would just beat him. But, by doing this, you can keep the feud going for a little bit. It was a good finish. Match was okay. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Hamp says, WWE can't seriously let Roman Reigns versus Rock not happen when they just started on Netflix. That would be a total flop when Netflix probably wanted The Rock. Here's the thing, to quote Jeff Meacham, longtime No DQ contributor. WrestleMania is going to be massive, with or without The Rock. I just think with The Rock, it would have been even more epic. I'm let down in that regard, but they're going to be fine. Whatever they come up with for WrestleMania 41, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be one of the biggest WrestleManias, and it will live up to the WrestleMania hype. And we'll talk more about that here in just a few moments because I do have my thoughts on that. But thank you for the super chat, Hamp. And I hope we get The Rock in the ring again, but I'm not getting my hopes up at this point. We had a backstage segment where the New Day interrupted Gabriel Iglesias, and he's a comedian. They tried to talk more about why they did what they did to Big E, who was doing like non-wrestling stuff on this show, doing the panels or whatever. Alpha Academy then came in, and New Day backed off, and Gabriel started a New Day sucks chant. As Ian pointed out in the chat room, it was basically filler. It was to promote Gabriel's Netflix special, and that's what it was. Then there was a backstage segment with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, and they teased that Roman Reigns is going to be doing something on the January 27th edition of Raw, which will take place in Atlanta, where Bad Blood was, where The Rock came out there and teased something big for WrestleMania, only to do an about face and do a babyface turn on this episode of Raw. So yeah, they got something for the January 27th Raw that they're teasing with Roman Reigns. Stephanie McMahon was shown at ringside. She's still around, making occasional cameo appearances. We then had our main event of the evening, CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Very good match here. Definitely could have been on a pay-per-view. I think this was the best match on the show. There were only 4 matches on the show, but all 4 matches got a good amount of time. Tribal Combat got a lot of time, and this got a good amount of time too. Actually, if anything, I thought it did go a little shorter than I was expecting, maybe because I thought they were going to go way over the 3 hours, but they did not. Raw actually clocked in at just over 3 hours. I think it was like 3 hours, 4 minutes. This was a really good match. Crowd was chanting holy shit at the beginning, and it was very competitive. They were fighting on the outside. Rollins was telling the referee to let it ride, meaning don't count them out or DQ them. Just let them fight. This was supposed to be a regular match. They fought in the crowd a little bit. They fought back in the ring. They were countering each other's moves. And then Rollins hit Punk with Punk's own GTS. Yes, Punk got hit with the GTS by Rollins. Punk went to the outside of the ring. Rollins got him back in the ring. And that allowed Punk to recover and hit Rollins with a curb stomp. Rollins got hit with his own curb stomp. And then Punk went for the GTS, but Rollins countered with another GTS. And then Rollins went for a stomp. Punk was able to get out of the ring. Then they fought on the announce table. Rollins gave Punk the pedigree on the table, got him back in the ring, hit another pedigree, but Punk kicked out. Then they started trading shots, slapping each other. Rollins gave Punk the buckle bomb in the corner and then hit the curb stomp, went for the cover, but Punk was able to get his foot on the rope. Crowd chanted, "This is awesome." They even chanted "Fight Forever." I'm sure Tony Khan was thrilled with that one. And then Rollins tried to finish off Punk with the Falcon Arrow, but Punk countered, hit the GTS, and then hit a second GTS to get the 1-2-3 victory. Now, I could have sworn that like 3 of the 4 matches on this show had finishes where the wrestler who won had to use his move twice. Roman Reigns had to do 2 spears. And then in this match, Punk had to do 2 GTSs. And then Rhea had to do 2 riptides. So I guess I have to call that out. I think they got a little bit repetitive there with that. But this was a really good match to end the show. Punk won clean. And it was a nice ending to the show. No real cliffhanger or anything, although I believe Punk did announce after the show that he is going to be in the Royal Rumble, which leads me to my little WrestleMania prediction. And we'll talk about this more in the coming days, maybe on the No DQ review, but I think John Cena is winning the Royal Rumble. I think Roman Reigns is going to be WWE champion on Raw. He's going to beat Gunther. Gunther faces Goldberg at WrestleMania. And you're going to have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for one title. And then CM Punk is going to cash in his favor from Paul Heyman and get the world title match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's what I think is going to happen. I did not see the cut on Seth Rollins, though, but that's my early prediction for the men's world title matches. So let me get to these super chats here. Nirvana Fan 09 sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, what are your thoughts on the new ring? I thought it was too distracting with all those sponsors. It's unnecessary. It actually doesn't bother me. I know some people don't like it. It's done in sports. UFC has all the advertising. Boxing, they have all the advertising. I get why they do it. It doesn't really bother me. If anything, it makes WWE feel more like a sport, which I don't really care personally one way or another. It doesn't bother me personally. I know some people don't like it. I don't have a problem with it. Maddie sent in a $2 super chat. Says, Jey sucks. Entrance is all he has. Drew McIntyre deserves more. Ouch. I mean, Jey's awesome. I think he's great. He really came into his own. But yeah, the match wasn't my favorite. I will say that. Thank you for the super chat, Maddie. I appreciate it. And Drew will probably get the last laugh in this feud. They just want to keep it going for a little bit longer. That's what I think. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat. Says, it's going to be Roman Reigns on the WWE 2K25 cover. That's right. Hamp Connell, you were right about that. Roman Reigns walked into that room and they had the 2K25 there on the door. Yeah, there you go. I'm hoping I'll finally be able to play a WWE 2K game on the Switch. I always get robbed of that because the Switch didn't have the capabilities to have the game on their console. But with the Switch 2, maybe things will change. I don't think it's going to happen for 2K25, but maybe next year it'll be on the Switch 2. Shout out to CJ, who sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, who should Bayley face first now that it looks like she is back on Raw? I assume they keep Bayley as a babyface. Yes, I forgot to mention Bayley was in a brief backstage segment with Adam Pearson. They definitely teased that. I don't know if that necessarily means she's going to be on Raw, but they certainly acted like that was a possibility. I'm not sure because I think, unfortunately for her and Liv Morgan, they're probably moving down the card a little bit with Becky Lynch coming back soon, Charlotte Flair coming back soon. It is what it is. So I really don't know at this point where Bayley will fit in. So overall, I thought Raw was a great show. Was it an absolute perfect home run? No. I would go 9 out of 10 for points. It was great. It was one of the best Raws probably ever. I mean, this will always go down as an all-time great Raw, but I was a little bit disappointed about The Rock. And it did feel like it was dragging towards the end. And it was more focused on doing those matches. It did feel like a mini PLE. I did think the matches were really good, with the exception of the Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso one. So it was great, but not perfect. Excellent production. Very fun to watch overall. Definitely felt like a really big deal. And it had a lot of entertaining moments. So 9 out of 10 points. I did enjoy the show very much. Now, before I go here, let's bring him on. He's been waiting. He just got out of the arena in Los Angeles / Inglewood. Let me bring him on. Good old JM, Jeff Meacham, in the house here. Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me is the question.
Yes, I can hear you. So I'm going to throw it over to you now. You were there in Los Angeles at the Intuit Dome for Monday Night Raw. Go ahead and give us your thoughts. What did you like? What did you hate? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, for perspective, boss, we are literally at the on-ramp at the 405 North sign and Manchester, Los Cienegos, and we're stuck. We are moving, crawling. Great show. I found out through the course of the night, Dylan, my son, had not been to a show since pre-pandemic. We're talking like 2017, 2018. at Staples Center. It's been a long time. So his first show back being this show, like you said, very, very much a premium live event feel. They're having a scrum right now on WWE's socials. We're doing our thing here. The guys that are the watch along, like everybody is doing their own coverage right now. My buddy Denise Salcedo's at the WWE scrums. It's just such a fun atmosphere. This is a cool venue. I really enjoy it. I will be back. I got the $13.75 souvenir cup, which is free refills for life. Always good to have that in LA, because it's expensive out here, as you know, boss. The one segment that was a downer was Hogan, and I have never felt more awkward during a Hulk Hogan WWE segment in my fandom, and that's going 34 years. His ability to read the room was not there tonight. They should not have put him in front of a live crowd. That should have been a backstage thing. I know Hunter and Nick were sitting back there going, "Oh, we fucked up. Oh, we messed up." Really, just bad. Just a bad decision to bring him out there, especially for a product that they can't even get in this area of the country yet. The closest distributor that has the Real American Beer is in Vegas. Just a bad decision-making process by WWE there. Other than that, I agree with you. 9 out of 10. That segment was rough. It did feel like the show kind of just got a little bit crawling at that point. Once Hogan was out there, everything seemed like they were trying to catch the pace back up. I was surprised at first about the lack of Penta, but then I realized, like with the Women's Intercontinental title match next week, this show was stacked.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd would have overloaded. And having the Angelinos cheer for Penta would have been a good thing for perception. But it was just so much going on tonight. So I had a great time. I'd like to give some props to Will Friddle, a.k.a. Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World, and Ron Possible. No love from the WWE name graphic department. They gave Danielle Fishel Topanga her own name card, but not Will Friedle. So I'm giving some love to Will right now. Damn it. But
all right, fair enough.
Good to see all my friends. Good to see Sean Waltman at a show. Always good to see Sean Waltman, even though they botched his thing too. Good to see Nikki Bella. Great to see John. It was cool. I told Dylan, I was like, okay, he's retired. We got to get to at least one show. If it's not a match, whatever. I'm glad we got the first stop on the tour because it was great to see him. He was passionate. He was with us. He was engaging us the entire time. And we had to see the bald spot during a match. So that's always good to not have to see John's bald spot during a wrestling match. So he cut the promo in Dodgers colored gear. So it had to be hard for a native Bostonian to be in Dodgers colors. So God bless him for making the effort for us. I enjoyed the hell out of this show. I am glad I made available the opportunity to go. I'm really excited about going tomorrow night to the Shrine now. Because The Rock's apparently going to be at NXT, which is friggin' awesome. Right. He announced it on social media. So I know we're doing the review tomorrow. I put it out there in the group. If I'm able to pop in, I get a quiet spot at the Shrine, I will definitely try to pop in and give perspective on tonight, even though I'm here now. But yeah, so much fun. Thank you again. Having people recognize me is still really weird, and it's still happening, and that's your fault. That's 100% your fault. So thank you for that. But shout out to the team at Pacific Rival Studios for their watch along coverage. Thank you for retweeting that. It had like 2,000 retweets by the time, or views, whatever, by the time we got in the building tonight. So that was awesome. And just thank everybody for tuning in to your coverage and everything too. Really cool.
I got a quick question for you. Those drones, and they had a lot of drones flying around the arena and outside the arena. Like, how close were they to where people were sitting? Did you notice them at all, like flying around where you were sitting?
So to be fair, so where I was sitting, I was at the tippy top. If I had gotten any higher in the building, I would have been on the roof. But I didn't see the drones. I really was paying attention. And also, we had a giant. Yes, sir.
I saw the drones, and I'm Phil.
This is my buddy Phil. He's driving us home.
The drones were really cool because it looks like they were doing two things. Looks like they were taking recordings, and then I think they were also part of like the laser shows too. I saw them like shooting little lasers and like doing smoke and stuff. Honestly, unless you were looking for them, you didn't see them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't even see them.
I only saw them a couple times. The only reason I saw them is because they went from out of the crowd where it's all dark and they're really small too. They're probably like the size of like
Yeah.
you can hardly see them, number one. And when you could see them, it was more so that you could hear them because they were close enough where you could just hear the blades spinning. And then once they got low enough, you couldn't even see or hear them. But you had to track them like they were a fly buzzing around your face.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I caught most of that. Yeah, so it sounds like they weren't too much of a distraction.
No, and what I was going to say, where we were sitting, there was one of those giant, like, bright white production lights in my eyes for most of the 3 hours. So I couldn't see a whole lot. Once the matches were in the ring, I was having trouble.
Jeff, there's a question from Matthew. Were there empty seats near the end? Were people leaving towards the end?
I noticed a few people getting up before Punk Rollins, which surprised me. But one group in particular that left there was a lot of little kids, so it may have been just like they were done, like they were tapped out.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, the crowd. I noticed in our group chat they were talking about the crowd not being with it. I did not sense that at all. That crowd was with this show 100% of the way. Even with Hogan, they were united in their booing of Hulk Hogan by a lot. So no, this crowd. It was one of the best crowds I've ever been a part of. Aaron, you were at SummerSlam 2013 when we threw the party at Hooters afterwards, right?
Yeah.
You realize that was CM Punk's last LA match? So you were there for that. I was here for this.
There you go.
So pretty cool. CM Punk is his perception is at a complete 180. And I'm so happy for him for that. The people seem to love him being there. It was really cool. You know what? I disagree. The crowd seemed to be into Jey and Drew from where I was sitting. Guys, did you get perception that the crowd was into the Jey?
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah.
They loved the match.
They did feel a little quiet for that one on TV, at least.
Yeah, I
will say it didn't get as much of a pop during the actual match, but the crowd was very engaged throughout the entire show.
Yeah. And yes, everybody except me and Dylan, I think, was booing Hulk Hogan to answer that question that was on the screen there. It was rough.
There you go.
I'll say that's fair. The crowd was definitely split with Jey and Drew. And again, it's very much like Drew is one of those Michael Hayes justified heels. Like, a heel has to believe in his convictions, and Drew believes, man. He's so good.
Another thing I don't really hear being talked about that much is the belt that Travis Scott had when he entered, because it was a pretty cool custom belt that had the regular design of the Universal title, the red one that they first introduced, but it had the hardcore ECW tape over it.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that. Again,
Universal Press was split. So it was I actually really liked the design of it.
I'm going to go back and watch this show on demand when probably not tonight because my dog ass tired.
Yeah,
but
all RAWs are fully fast forward and everything.
That's great. We can fast forward. That's
streaming as soon as it's off the air.
So, Aaron, you were watching at home. Did we have any glitches like we had during the fight, or was it smooth like the football games on Christmas?
It was perfect. I had no issues whatsoever.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
They figured the fuck out.
Well, I always said the fight was going to be a freaking guinea pig, and the NFL saw that and like, okay, we're not doing this shit. We're gonna make this better on Christmas. Anyway, I know you want to get off the air at midnight, and you went till midnight before you brought me on, so I won't keep you too long.
All right, Jeff. Well, I'll go ahead and throw up your plug if you got anything else you wanted to add, and then I'll throw up your plug.
So, just again, I think the graphic you have is going to be out of date because I actually pushed back my relaunch until February, the Monday after the Royal Rumble, because this week is so crazy busy. But there you go. Follow works. Always good to follow. Facebook and Blue Sky at Jeff Meacham, Instagram and YouTube. Also at YouTube at Jeff Meacham, Instagram and Twix at _Jeff Meacham. And just again, everybody, thank you to EQ Galaxy for tuning in to the watch along. This is thank you for plugging that. And if I can make it a review, I will be there. Otherwise, I'll be tuning in for the NoDQ review and the Dynamite recap and everything this week. So thank you as always, Aaron, man. Always good to be on screen with you, and love you, man. Miss you. Can't wait to see you in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Have a great night, Jeff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
It's so, brother. Take it easy.
All right. Take it easy. All right. That was good old JM Jeff Meacham. So on that note, I will go ahead and wrap up this stream. Longest Raw stream in a while. Clock it in here at just over an hour. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. It was a busy day at NoDQ.com. Lots of news up on the site. Results from Raw. Check that out over at NoDQ.com. Say yes to NoDQ. Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all next time.